Let's unpack why the jury found the way it did. We have the right people for this. High-profile defense attorney Mark Geragos and Florida State Attorney Dave Aronberg. Dave, I start with you. Help us understand how the jury said, we don't believe preponderance of the evidence, which is basically 50% plus one. We don't believe it was a rape, but we do believe it was sexual abuse. How do they distinguish?
Chris, I don't want to get too graphic, but E. Jean Carroll was very specific on the stand when she was recounting what happened to her when it came to Trump's digits, his fingers. Less specific, less sure of herself when it was his genitalia. And that's the difference between rape and sexual abuse. And I think also when you have a jury that's been around hearing evidence for weeks and they want to go home and there may be a dispute, they just, okay, let's just compromise. And here was an easy compromise. Not rape, not the less of the third least charge, but the one in the middle, which is sexual abuse, and that's what they did.
Mark Geragos, does this read as a compromise verdict? We believe her, but even she said she wasn't sure what he was doing to her exactly, or is this a basis for appeal?
Actually, I think the jury got it exactly right based on the evidence. They did not buy that under the jury instructions that he had either digitally or genitally penetrated her. They did find, because she testified and he testified by virtue of the videotape, that he likes, when you're a star, you can grab him by the blank. I don't know that we can say that on NewsNation.
Don't say it.
But, yeah, I won't say it. But he didn't come in to rebut the I like to grab them when you're a star. That's basically what they found. The jury instruction required more than just that, and they didn't find that. And frankly, as I told you last night, the idea that they're sitting there as jurors and the defendant doesn't bother to show up, even though he is high profile, they're going to slam you. I mean, that's just to be expected in a civil case. They're going to say to themselves, why am I sitting here if he can't be bothered? And we're going to whack him for $5 million. But there wasn't enough evidence, clearly, based on everything that came out, especially once you factor in the Law and Order episode, it just wasn't going to, I didn't think it was ever going to play.
Do you think, a quick bounce question to you, Geragos, do you see real avenues of appeal here?
Well, this idea that somehow he was prevented from testifying, no, the judge went out of his way to give him an option that a lot of judges would never have given. There was some commentary, that mistrial motion that Joe Tacopino filed. I feel his pain. I've been there when it appears that somebody is carrying the water of your opponent, and that was his complaint. So he's got something to talk about there.
Dave Aronberg, is this another situation where the Trump to the media, I want to confront, I'm going to come in, I'm going to testify, I'm going to tell them how it is, but then when he gets the opportunity, he doesn't take it, as he has never taken it. Did this wind up hurting him?
You know, the jury wouldn't have known the chicanery that was going on outside the courtroom. At least they're not supposed to. But it's clear that Trump's defense had a strategy of playing to the court of public opinion, because they didn't put on a case inside the courtroom. They didn't have any evidence, any witnesses. And where they really, I think, made a mistake is they could have put on an expert witness, at least, to try to rebut the plaintiff's expert witness about delayed reporting. They didn't do that, not to mention he, as Mark said, ghosted the jury, and no one likes to be ghosted, especially not jurors, have to give up their time, leave their families, leave their jobs to show up in court every day. If it's good enough for them, they think it's good enough for Trump. So I think their strategy backfired. Plus, you have this bull in a china shop, his lawyer, Tacopina, who was going after the plaintiff, the victim, really aggressively. That's not how you do it in a post-Me Too world.
All right, I want to talk.
Can I also say something else for a second,
please,
Chris, that we haven't talked about? The setup piece was, Bill Clinton survived this with Paula Jones. and he didn't get found, or he wasn't judged by a jury when basically they phoned it in. I don't think this hurts him. I mean, I know that's probably a political calculation, but it was a political calculation back when they were coming after Clinton. I don't know that this hurts. I've seen a couple of Republicans peel off, but at the end of the day, in New York City, for him to be found not liable on a rape when somebody got up there and swore under oath that he committed a rape, and they didn't buy that when there was no rebuttal to that other than him on a golf course saying,
about as fair as you can ask for. Yeah. I agree with you, and I really don't like this. Now, you're not doing it, but this suggestion has been made that, oh, he can't be fair in New York City. By the way, he did just fine in New York City. He had plenty of fans here, and the idea that New Yorkers can't be fair, I reject that. Of course, this is my place, but I just think that's nonsense, and I think this verdict, this finding by the jury reflects that. Now, I want to talk to you about George.
Except Chris, be fair. If he had to try this case in Alabama, I bet you he would have chosen that.
Yeah, but that shows, but hold on. That would mean that the people in Alabama may be unfair in that they favor him. I'm saying that in New York, they call it as they see it, even if it meant a compromise situation that helped Trump in terms of it not being the worst outcome.
I'm not second guessing the jury, but as you know, my philosophy after having done this for 40 years is your case is won or lost in jury selection.
Sure.
I would rather have, if I'm going to choose this jury, a jury, and I'm having this case tried, I'd rather be in Alabama than New York City.
I totally get it. Although, because of it's Trump, because they can have some real high dudgeon over morality down there as well. I'm just saying, I think this verdict shows these people were fair. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.